Michael Vick is an Eagle. What do you think? It's your call right now. Not much needed in the way of an introduction for today's show. All I have to say is that Michael Vick is back in the NFL and that he's back with the Eagles. And that will start the debate, I'm sure. Hi there, everyone. It's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle, and it's your call this hour on whether the Philadelphia Eagles did the right thing in signing Michael Vick. On one side of this issue, you have people like radio personality Kendra G. She's the host of Live with Kendra G on 100.3 The Beat. And Mike Sealski, a sports columnist for Calkins Media and author of a new book called Fading Echoes, who say it's great, he deserves a second chance, and that he'll be an asset to the team. But then you have folks like Dave Davies. He's a senior writer for the Philadelphia Daily News, and Tom Hickey Sr., who was appointed by Governor Rendell in 2006 to the Pennsylvania Dog Law Advisory Board, who say no way his sins were unforgivable, and it's unforgivable that the Eagles are part of it. Welcome all of them and you to the show. No use waiting anymore to debate this. It's been going on everywhere since it was first reported during an Eagles preseason game. So let's continue it here on It's Your Call. I'm going to look at Tom and say, Tom, what's the big objection?
Well, from an animal welfare perspective, the issue is that the Eagles are a business that thrive on both fan and community support, with a track record of opposing dogfighting. In this case, they stepped away from their decision to stay with that record, and they went and hired someone who was a convicted dogfighter. We're not saying that you shouldn't have a second chance, but it's not proven yet. This is somebody who just went through his penalty phase, but has not yet started the forgiveness phase.
When should that forgiveness phase, Kendra, begin, if not as soon as he's out of jail?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of confused by that, because he started his forgiveness, I believe, when he went to jail. He said when he went to jail, he realized at that moment when those prison doors slammed how wrong he was. He has been nothing but remorseful and regretful since he has been out of jail. So what would it take for you to forgive him? Like, I don't understand that.
Well, I think, Kendra, he said when the doors closed, he felt a lot of problems with what he did for himself.
Right.
He never mentioned that there was any issues with he felt sorry for what he did to the dogs. So what we're saying is he needs to go out into the community and demonstrate that he clearly understands the gravity of what he's done. Dogfighting is one of the most gruesome, abusive things that can take place in an animal community. And so far, we have not heard much to say, I regret doing that. I think he regrets losing his job.
He was on 60 Minutes, and he did talk about how much he regret what he did to the dog. So he has said that. He even spoke out to certain different, he has in community service, speaking out how wrong it was what he did to the dog. So maybe you missed that interview on 60 Minutes.
I saw the interview.
Well, he talked about that on 60 Minutes, how regretful he was. And also, you have to understand, I'm not saying that it's right what he did, but he comes from a culture where that is so normal. He talked about that, and now he knows that that is wrong. That's why he's speaking to that culture to educate them also too that dog fighting is not right. Now, I see what you're saying about the dog fighting, but we abuse animals in so many different facets, and to say that we can't forgive a man who said that he was wrong and is trying to be forgiven is crazy to me.
Deeds are more powerful than words. I mean, everything he's said so far is exactly what someone would say who has good lawyers and media advisors, and I think he needs to spend some time proving that he is rebuilding his character. And if the Eagles had said, we're going to let him coach in the Police Athletic League for a year and spend some time really trying to do something to prevent dogfighting in the future. Then, if it goes well after a year, then he gets to rejoin his profession. I think it would have made a lot more sense. He hasn't done anything yet that really demonstrates that he has voluntarily changing his life.
Well, the flip side of that, though, is he also hasn't done anything on a football field to justify the signing here. And that's the component I think we have to really take into consideration here. I mean, I don't think anybody would deny that Michael Vick has a right to try to earn a living after serving his time for the crimes that he's committed. And I mean, for me, the main objection I have to what has happened here is not that the Eagles signed Michael Vick. It's that they're couching it in the very terms we're talking about. How contrite will he be? Can we rehabilitate him as a person? This is an NFL franchise that is supposed to be about two things: winning football games and selling tickets. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what their fans expect from them. And it's not the first time a convicted felon's been signed in the NFL. It won't be the last. And at some point, Vick is going to be evaluated both by us and by Eagles fans around the country by what kind of player he is, and that is okay. That's a determining factor.
Well, let's follow up on that for a second. Winning games and selling tickets with Michael Vick on the roster, will the Eagles do that?
I think they can, yeah. I think it's fine that Jeffrey Lurie and Andy Reid and Tony Dungy have talked about we're going to try to, quote unquote, save his soul in some kind of way. That's wonderful. That you want to connect social change and social justice to an NFL franchise. But that's not entirely, it's not even supposed to be the first thing that an NFL franchise is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about winning a Super Bowl. I mean, even when the Brooklyn Dodgers signed Jackie Robinson, they did it in part because they wanted to tap into a talent pool that had been untapped up to that point. They wanted to break the color barrier, sign a black player, get more black players, and win some World Series.
There's more to it than that. This team is a civic asset. On Tuesday, the city of Philadelphia, this very cash-strapped city, wrote the Eagles a check for $7.8 million, part of the subsidy that they committed to allow this team to stay in Philadelphia. That's the same money that we used to pay cops, firefighters, child abuse workers, and pools and recreation centers. And that the city council committed that money to this team because they realized it reflects on all of us. And when you hire someone with this long history of sadistic abuse this quickly, I think it feeds that image that we at Philadelphia sport fans are clueless and classless and will do anything to win.
And
well, it's interesting because the fans really spoke out vehemently when we posted this question on Facebook. We're going to be sharing some of those responses with you in just a moment. And of course, as always, we do want to know what you think about this situation. Go ahead and weigh in. Tell us where you stand on Vick's return to the NFL, and tell us if you think he deserves a second chance. Now, is it the fact that he's with the Eagles that bothers you the most, or if he was with any team at all, would you feel badly about it? And if he wasn't allowed to play, then what message does that send? We all talk about teachable moments here in 2009. Is this actually a teachable moment for society? Want to know what you think? So here's how you do it. You can email me at csnphilly.com. That's our Sportsnet webpage. You put in "It's Your Call." That'll take you to my site, and then you can tell me what you think. You can also email me directly right here at the show. That's tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com. As I mentioned, you can find us on Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube as well. As I said throughout the show, you're going to be seeing some of the reactions from the Facebook friends, and we also are going to be talking to a couple of them in just a second. So stay with us for that. Fan reaction coming up momentarily. But first, let's go back to Tom.
To Mike's point, it was amazing last Friday during the press conference because Jeffrey Lurie, when discussing the requirements of the contract with Michael Vick, said that the success or failure of Michael Vick will be based on his activities off the field, not on the field.
Right.
And to that end, our organization, SavingPuppies.com, yesterday petitioned the Eagles to actually put their money where their mouth is and actually matched what they're paying Michael Vick with a contribution to Humane Society so that they can hire more police officers, humane police officers, and build a rehabilitation program for the dogs who suffer so terribly for this. So we're not saying someone doesn't deserve a job. What we're saying is put your money where your mouth is. You're willing to invest in Michael Vick. Invest in the dogs. Philadelphia has, by some accounts, the worst dog fighting situation in the country. And dogs every day suffer, and this would be a great opportunity for them to do both.
I would agree with that, Tom. Look, if you're going to do what Jeffrey Lurie did, which is to set up this construct in which, social matters and social change are part of the deal, then stand by it. I mean, my objection to what the Eagles have done is that I feel like the way this happened was Donovan McNabb went to Andy Reid and the higher-ups of the Eagles and said, I want you to consider hiring Michael Vick because I want him on my team. He's a friend. He's a potential weapon to use on the field. And the Eagles decided, okay, it's worth the risk. It's worth the public backlash to do that. Either you're going to be upfront about that and say, we signed him to win football games, or you're going to go the other way and follow through on what Jeffrey Lurie has laid out there. To me, the interesting thing is going to be if he goes out there and starts playing, scores 2 touchdowns a week for 5 straight games, and isn't fulfilling those obligations that Jeffrey Lurie set up, what are the Eagles going to do then? Because all of a sudden, Michael Vick becomes a whole lot more appealing and palatable to the fans of Philadelphia if he's playing well.
And the point is, the Eagles are a billion-dollar organization. They have a huge community relations problem right now. They've polarized this community with this decision. With a matching contribution, which would equal about $6.8 million over 2 years, and that's if Michael plays for 2 years, that money could go to such good to help animals that so desperately need it.
All right, on that note, I want to return to the Facebook because I mentioned that we had solicited some comments. We've been sharing those with you as we've gone along here on the show, but we also asked people if they'd like to call in and share their opinion.